Hello everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture, and we finally have some news with regards to the future of Doctor Who. So I think let's start with the one that maybe is the least surprising, the least shocking. I don't know if anybody went, really? When they saw this, which is of course that Disney Plus are not going ahead with another deal with Doctor Who with the BBC. Are any of us surprised? Was anyone surprised? Really? Don't lie, no you weren't. We've been saying this for months, it feels like years, it feels like, we've been saying this right from when season 2 ended. We were fairly certain that Disney were not going ahead. But we now have confirmation, Disney, after the war between the land and the sea, are done with Doctor Who. So this is the full statement from the BBC. It says, with Disney Plus confirming they will not be partnering on the next season of the sci-fi show, the BBC remain fully committed to the show and will announce plans for the next series in due course to ensure the Doctor's adventures continue. Lindsay Salt, director of drama BBC, said, "We'd like to thank Disney Plus for being terrific global partners and collaborators over the past 2 seasons and for the upcoming The War Between the Land and the Sea. The BBC remains fully committed to Doctor Who, which continues to be one of our most loved dramas, and we are delighted that Russell T Davies has agreed to write us another spectacular Christmas special for 2026. Okay, so first of all, Christmas special 2026. Hold that thought because I'm going to come back to that, but let's just focus on the Disney side for just a second. Obviously, as I said, no one's really surprised by this, but it does raise a few questions. It does raise the question of where will Doctor Who be distributed internationally in the future now? This Christmas special coming next year, where will that be available for international viewers? You would imagine there's going to be another streamer, so then the question is, when are we going to find out who the next streamer will be? Because surely they are going to have to make a deal with another streamer of sorts. As much as, I'm saying just go back to the BBC and Bad Wolf, in terms of international viewers, you've opened those floodgates now and you can't now go back on that. So the question now is, where will international viewers be watching Doctor Who in the future? That's question 1. Question 2 is, what will happen to the Disney era episodes of Doctor Who? The 60th anniversary specials, season 1 and 2, that are part of the Disney deal and are at the moment exclusively on Disney Plus in the US and around the world. The question then is, what happens to them? Do they remain on Disney? Will they be moved to whatever the next streamer is? Will Disney still host them but have no financial input with the show? What happens there? Now, at some point, the Disney deal, the current Disney deal, will come to an end. And at that point, I guess they can remove it, sell it. I don't know the ins and outs of what's going to happen there, but there is a kind of question lingering about those 2.5 seasons and what the future holds for them. Now, obviously, the BBC does have stakes in those as well. So in my mind, when the BBC looks for another streamer, and we know that deals have come to an end recently with regards to the rest of the modern era of Doctor Who. So I don't think that they haven't thought about what's going to happen with those episodes, those seasons. In my mind, they'll be moving to whatever the next streamer will be. But it is a question. It all depends, I guess, on whether things ended amicably with Disney or whether things didn't. Now, as you guys all know, I've spoken about this plenty of times. I'm not mad about Disney leaving. I don't feel that Doctor Who needed that giant Disney budget. I think from a distributor point of view, in terms of international viewers, it was a good idea. It was a good place for it to stream globally. But I think beyond that, Disney had so much control and input in the actual creation of Doctor Who, and it made it become this multi-million-dollar franchise. I'm paraphrasing, I don't actually know what the money looks like, but it felt like all of a sudden there was so much money thrown at Doctor Who, and it kind of stripped away, for me, what the core elements of Doctor Who are. So for it to go back to just the BBC and Bad Wolf Studios, at least for the Christmas special next year, that is totally fine by me. And I think the show actually would benefit from scaling back again. So for me, Disney saying goodbye, bye-bye. I don't really mind about that. We tried it, we saw what it could be, but I think fundamentally Doctor Who doesn't need someone like Disney. Streaming-wise, distribution-wise, it does need something, but that's a different conversation. And I hope that the BBC and the creatives of Doctor Who have learnt maybe from this experience, and when they go into making deals with other streamers, they think about exactly what it is they're agreeing to when making these deals. So let's talk about the Christmas special. Now, just to clarify, that is not a Christmas special this year. No 2025 Christmas special, 2026. So just over a year. Well, yeah, just over a year. We'll go with that. Some people might be like, it's not nearly Christmas, but come on. In the grand scheme of the year, it's nearly Christmas. 2026 Christmas special, written by Russell T Davies. So we know at least until the Christmas special next year, Russell T Davies is sticking around. Could this be his last hurrah? Could this be his final input for RTD2 before he steps down and walks away? There's no mention of him staying beyond the Christmas special in this press release, which isn't to say that he's not going to, but it's interesting that they've highlighted that he will be here for that Christmas special, but then kind of made a point of saying they're going to continue having discussions about the future of the show beyond that. And if you think about the initial announcement of when Russell came back as showrunner, they kind of stated he'd be there for the 60th anniversary and seasons beyond, series beyond. So it's interesting they haven't said that here. In terms of the plot for this Christmas special, the fact that it's written by Russell T Davies, I think, is a good thing in as much as things have been set up. There are threads hanging that need to be tied off before he even thinks about walking away. So I think if this is the last hurrah for Russell T Davies, then it will be good for him to tie up at least the Billie Piper situation. I think what will happen is the Christmas special will tie up Billie Piper. I think she will be in one episode, the Christmas special, and that will be it. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that is the best way of doing it. My thoughts on this have been quite consistent throughout. You will probably be well aware of this by this point, but I kind of felt like maybe a few specials in a similar vein to the 60th anniversary for Billie Piper, whether she's the Doctor or something else, would be okay. But beyond that, I think that would be too much to go into a full series, a full season with Billie Piper as the Doctor. But a Christmas special where we can tie that all up, answer the big lingering questions, and start fresh with whatever the future then is going to be, I think would be a really good idea. Now, speaking of the next series, it has been confirmed that they are having discussions. There is going to be more Doctor Who beyond that Christmas special. We have no release window as of yet. My assumption would be probably 2027 at some point. Now that we know at least that Disney are not going ahead, obviously the question still being whether they're going to find another streamer and how much involvement that streamer is going to have. But for all intents and purposes, things can get going now. Filming can start happening. Presumably, filming for this Christmas special will begin maybe beginning of next year. So once that's done, they could be, in theory, announcing who the next Doctor is going to be at some point next year, maybe midway through next year. My brain is saying Christmas special ties up everything that Russell T Davies has set up, ties up Billie Piper and that mystery, ready for the next series, whatever that might be, whether it's season 3, whether we're doing another reset of the numbering. Let's not even go down that road at the moment, but I think that will be setting up something fresh with a new Doctor and a new vision. So at the moment, that does then look like we have quite a long wait for any more Doctor Who. No Christmas special this year, but we do still have The War Between the Land and the Sea, and of course don't forget about the CBeebies project that's coming soon. So more from this press release regarding those two shows. It said, before next year's special, fans of the beloved series will still have much to enjoy, with The War Between the Land and the Sea heading to BBC iPlayer and BBC One later this year, as well as a brand new animation series for CBeebies, which is in development. So actually, maybe we will have something around Christmas this year, because this is saying The War Between the Land and the Sea is coming this year. Now, if you'll remember, a few months ago, we actually released a video because someone at the BBC had suggested that The War Between the Land and the Sea wasn't coming until 2026. But stick with me here, because I still stick by my original theory for this. I think what's going to happen is it's both are true, because I think this spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea, is still going to fill that festive slot. But rather than be a Christmas special, I think it's going to fold over into New Year and air across 5 consecutive days over New Year. So technically it will release right at the very end of this year and the very beginning of next year. That's my theory. I'm sticking with it. Part of me does feel like now that we know there's a Christmas special coming next year, will they hold out and push The War Between the Land and the Sea further into 2026 to try and fill this gap a little bit more? But part of me also feels like it would be silly not to fill the festive gap if you can. Doctor Who at Christmas is quintessential Britishness. We've spoken about that lots before. If we don't have a Doctor Who Christmas special, if they can put the spin-off there, then I think that would be a good idea. So yeah, that's my theory. We're still going to get it technically this year and next by it going over New Year. The question also with regards to The War Between the Land and the Sea, presumably this does still state, this press release does still state that obviously Disney is involved with The War Between the Land and the Sea. But there's no indication in this press release about The War Between the Land and the Sea releasing on Disney+. It specifically says on BBC iPlayer and BBC One later this year, but there's no mention of Disney there at all. Presumably, this spin-off is going to be released on Disney+ because it was part of that initial Disney deal. But interesting that they haven't chosen to announce that here, which maybe lends credit to another theory that has been floating around the internet, that it's not going to release on Disney at the same time as the BBC. There was a rumour floating around that it was going to drop later this year on BBC, but not until 2026 on Disney+. Now that, I don't know if that's true or not. That is, pinch of salt, just a rumour I've seen floating around. But it is interesting that Disney hasn't been mentioned with regards to the release of The War Between the Land and the Sea in this particular press release. So maybe there is truth to that rumour. Who knows? And then, of course, yes, we still have the CBeebies show coming as well. Now, we don't really have much information about that at the moment, so there's not really much more we can say on that. We have no idea in terms of a time frame or a window for when that will be coming. We know it is currently in development. So we do know, at least from today, that it is still happening, because quite often, you know, plans are spoken about, ideas are had, and then they fall through. So it's nice to know that that is still happening as well. So it does look like we are getting back onto some sort of straight track here. We've been all round on a roller coaster. Nobody's really been sure what's going on, but it's nice to know that we have a clear direction for where the show is going at the moment. As I said right at the beginning, no one's really shocked to hear that Disney aren't sticking around, but it's nice to have actual confirmation of that rather than just the countless videos of speculation we've been doing. It will be interesting to find out where we're going to go with regards to international distribution moving forwards and what's going to happen there, whether that will involve more creative input or whether they've learnt from that and they're going to kind of reword those contracts a little bit. And a Christmas special next year. So if nothing else, we can at least be excited knowing there is going to be a Christmas special in 2026, even if there isn't one this year, which there still might be in the form of The War Between the Land and the Sea. But it's honestly just so nice to have some concrete things to talk about and not just speculation after speculation. It's wonderful. We are back, baby. We are heading in the right direction. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments down below. What do you think the 2026 Christmas special is going to look like? Written by Russell T Davies, just a BBC and Bad Wolf Studios production. I quite honestly am very excited about that prospect. About it not having Disney dollars, about it not having this massive production to it, and hopefully seeing it go back to its roots. That's what I'm most hopeful for with this Christmas special. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.